God. Okay. What should I talk about? Um. Well, I'll just start talking about random shit that pops in my mind. So, first off, my gums hurt like holy shit. Ugh. Like right where the wisdom tooth would come in. Either a wisdom tooth is coming in, or just fucking I scratched the gums or some shit like that. And it's really irritated and it hurt like hell. Anyways, so yeah, I've had to deal with that for the past couple days. So yeah, um, it's not very interesting, but I'm just trying to think of things to talk about because I don't fucking know. So, my shoulder. I just slept for 10 hours undisturbed. I think about 10 hours. Yeah, cause I did wake up 3 hours ago for just a little bit, but other than that, 10 hours undisturbed, and it felt great. But now I'm like, you know that feeling like when you had a really long sleep time, and you feel great and your muscles are all stiff and shit. It's basically how I feel. Oh god. Ugh. Anyways, so uh, um, so once upon a time, there was a man. This man, uh, did not exist. Oh, how about, uh, uh, um, oh, how about the fact that okay, so, for the past 2 years, I've been going to smart people school because I took a test and I had like 90. I took like 5 tests and had 90% in like all of them except 2. But like my teachers then and my parents and the yeah, just those people think it's only because I was sick that day. I don't know. It might be because I just fucking hate language arts. Because those were the 2 that I got like 70 something on, which was still passing. So I got like 270-ish, and then I got like 90 something on a bunch of other stuff. And so they're like, "Oh, you got accepted." I'm like, "Wow, got 90s on the test. I didn't think I would get in, but hey, no." When I learned what my score was, it was kind of obvious, and I was sad because going to this smart school meant that I left all of my friends, yeah, behind and went into this fucking advanced program. It's, so I went there because it was a great opportunity and shit, and I mean, I didn't really care. But my parents were like, "You gotta fucking do this," and they shot me and stuff. I mean, no, wait, huh, what? No. But they just told me I needed to do it because it was, because they never got to do an opportunity like this. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I did the thing. Now I have The last 2 years of my grades have almost all been Fs. So, it doesn't look very good on a permanent record or anything. But anyways, I somehow got accepted into the... Actually, no. The reason I got accepted into the next grade was because this stuff was always, like, one or two levels higher than what I was supposed to be learning in that grade. Because I was fucking a smart kid. I'm fucking not a smart kid. But anyways, so... The only thing that I was actually good at in these past 2 years was woodworking. I got straight A's in woodworking, except for one quarter where I fucked up and I lost my workbook, which had all of like a bunch of papers in it. Because in the first quarter you get a workbook and you're supposed to do the workbook, and then in the second quarter you just do woodworking projects and stuff. And so basically, you only get graded on the first quarter. So in the first year, I lost the fucking workbook, and I was like, well, shit, there goes that quarter. But then the rest of the year got A's. But then the second year, I didn't lose my workbook, but at that point, I had pretty much given up on all homework. So I didn't do it at home, and so I had to rush through it during class at one point. Thankfully, I rushed fast enough because if I had been like a minute slower, I would have been thrown into a group of people that were making noise. Because like everybody that hadn't finished it were sent outside to do it, and I just rushed through it because it wasn't that hard. It was very very simple. Which I mean, I could have just done that at home. Like literally, I could just look up the answers. But no, I was That was a fucking piece of shit. But anyways, if I had been working on it if I hadn't finished it, and it took me like a minute or two late to finish it, I would have probably been thrown into a group of guys that were fucking messing around outside. I mean, they were messing around throughout the entire time, but they only got like yelled at a minute or two after I left. So, and like that was the first time that somebody got kicked out of the class. Okay, so the first year, it went smoothly. The only people that left the class were the people that chose to leave. The second year, it went horribly. Okay, so there was a group of guys, because it's always a group of guys. It's never a group of females that are the fucking problem people. Because the females are always the problem people with the kids, and the guys are the problem peoples with the kids and the adults. So I don't fucking know. Anyway, so this group of mostly football players and shit, they're just sitting in a corner of the room, and most of the time they're on their phones or they're swearing. Like I don't mind swearing. For the past like fucking I don't know how many years, too lazy to count. For the past many years, I've heard swearing every day of my life. So there's no point in like me getting angry at swearing. It's like, I mean, there was kids that went to this special program that were like, oh my gosh, don't swear, because apparently they went to private schools, and that was a big no-no there. It was hilarious because at that point, because I mean I swear, fucking well yeah, it's kind of obvious that I fucking swear because I swear in all my videos. But anyways, so these fuckbags, what the they so they because they are all the troublemakers, so that none of them did their work, so they were all sent outside, along with me and like a couple other good students. Thankfully, all of the good students got inside before this mess happened. So another teacher that was a little bit down the hall, like a couple meters down the hall, across the hall, heard them and was fucking pissed because it was one of those teachers, the teachers that get really pissed for absolutely no fucking reason. Uh, so, I mean, there was a reason this time because they were fucking screaming, literally. Like, you could hear them inside the classroom. But the teacher had gone off to take care of something in the wood shop. while we, what were we doing? I don't fucking know. I think maybe we might have been watching a movie or some shit. But anyways, this teacher knocked on the door and then came in, and Mr. Man came in about like a minute later and saw that she was asking where he was, and he's like, oh. And she's like, your students are screaming at the top of their lungs. And he's like, he called the principal, or security, not the principal. Calling the principal would have, I mean, eventually, so all this happened, a couple kids got in trouble and, like, suspended for a couple days and shit, because they wouldn't stop after a couple of warnings. Anyways, then flash forward a couple of weeks. Kids are these people still haven't learned their lesson. It's just fucking screaming and yelling at each other and swearing at each other. And since it gets annoying to hear swear words all the time, every day, it fucking what's it called? Oh yeah, Mr. Man got really annoyed. He's like, you know what? So that happened, and he just got really pissed at. He just made people just kept telling them. I think he kept them in the classroom if they swore, like 3 times. Anyways, so at this point, one student, I think they called the principal and blamed Mr. Man for not giving them a workbook and setting them up to fail and some shit like that. And Mr. Man was like, he says, "Do you want a workbook? I can give you a workbook." Well, he didn't say this, but like because the principal was involved at this point. Like the principal came in, and they were like talking to each other. Just the one student that, I honestly, he was kind of a dick. I don't remember what his name was. I don't even remember him very much at all because he was there for like 3 weeks, or like 4 or 5 weeks. Anyway, so he basically, the principal told him, okay, just give him a workbook. Because, I mean, the principal knew that the student was lying, like, to 90% of the time. But the principal's the principal, so he can't just say, oh, fuck you, kid. Basically what Mr. Man does. Anyways, so, Mr. Man goes, he grabs the workbook, grabs a spare workbook, Gerbers. Gives it to him. A week later, Mr. Man asks him if he's done any of the workbook. He's like, no. And he's like, why did I give you a workbook if you're not going to do it? He's like, do you want the workbook back? It was fucking stupid. It was all about a workbook. And then eventually, Mr. Man talked to the principal and the kid got kicked out of class. That was the first of like 3 or 4 kids that got kicked out of the class. About fast forward a couple of weeks. First semester has ended. We got a couple of students leave because at this point, there's no point in sticking around because of this mayhem. But I stick around because it's kind of fun to watch. But anyways, Jesus Christ. It might sound like I'm being silent, but I'm actually just scratching the inside of my throat with my tongue. Ah, there we go. Okay, so at this point, people have kind of calmed down because the kid that was kicked out was like the main troublemaker and stuff. Because it's like it's a group and they gotta have like a main person to do stuff and the instigator. Anyway, so I mean, these people, they still cause trouble, but they're not as bad. Eventually, Mr. Man gets so tired of them swearing that he's like, okay, if you swear, you lose all your points for the day. And they're like, oh, I think I think one of them literally at that moment said, "Oh shit," and then lost all his points that day. It was fucking hilarious. I nearly laughed, but I mean, at this point, I was on good terms with both Mr. Man and them. Therefore, I wouldn't get bullied or whatever, or made fun of. When I say made fun of, if you watch the Mr. Man video, you know what I'm talking about. Like teased. I mean, everybody got teased, but when you were on good terms, you got teased less. But if you were on good terms, but you were still stupid, you got teased a whole lot. it was, it was hilarious to see that happen. Anyways, so, I tried not to laugh, but since I wear a jacket every single day going to school, I, kind of curled up into my jacket, I had my sleeves, and I was, curled up and, breathed really heavily into my jacket so that I wouldn't laugh. Anyways, oh, and I also have slept in every single one of my classes. Anyways, so there's a... Oh, shit. What the... Oh, okay, so, and basically that went on for a couple, weeks. I mean, it went on for the rest of the school year, but, eventually they learned not to swear in that class. Anyways, so, eventually, okay, what happened? I think I might be repeating some things because, I might have said these things in the, Mr. Man story, even though I really just talked about him teasing students, which was fucking hilarious. Fuck. Oh, I think the next thing he did was kick out that student. Oh, there was this student that, kind of, he was he was part of that bad kid group, that troublemaker group. Shit, excuse me. But he missed the first half of the school year, so he didn't have shit. He didn't have any of the workbook stuff done. He didn't have anything done. So when he finally came, he's like, Mr. Lim's like, "Are you in this class?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm so and so." And he's like, "Okay," and he's like, "Well, welcome to class," because fucking teasing and stuff. So this kid came in and immediately got teased. And then Mr. Lim got him a workbook and told him that to do it and stuff. Eventually, he came outside and. So I guess that yeah. Let's see. I can barely remember all the people who got kicked out. There was 3, I think. Anyways, so the next person to get kicked out. So the next person to get kicked out was the one kid that I wasn't annoyed with all the time. The one troublemaker that wasn't annoying 200% of the time. I believe I talked about this in the video before, but so I told the people here in the phone, because they don't exist in real life. I don't have any people outside of the phone that listen. I guess my cousin listens, but he barely does that. And anyways, so fuck. What's it called? Fuck. What was I? Oh yeah. So the one kid that I was like, cause like everybody was annoying, but he was the least annoying. He asked me to help for help like 200% of the time. I basically did his project, but anyways, it was when I was trying to avoid doing my own project because I was bored. Anyway, so eventually he said he swore 2 times and then got kicked out, like, cause he was with the group and then the group kind of blamed him, I think, because they usually jokingly did that and then sometimes seriously did that. But anyways, Miss Slim got like was really pissed that day or something. He's like, yeah, nope, get out. And anytime he tried to come back, he's like, nope, go. He's like, well, I need to come here. He's like, no, 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 go to the Commons. And yeah, that's basically how that went. Since it was the last period of the day, I'm guessing he just went home after his third period every Black Day, because it was Red and Black Day. Anyways, my back. Okay, what happened? And then at the end of school, like the last week of school, people like just kind of, they went off the rails, and like 90% of the class just disappeared because they were like, yeah, it's the last week of school, nobody's gonna show up. But nobody shows up because they don't show up. Anyways, so, fucking, oh wow. So, there was one student in the last area of class that was like, you know what, well, fuck it, and just yelled fuck multiple times and got kicked out of class. It was great. Any fucking ways, it seems that my story has brought us to the end. Fuck you, dumbass fucks.